Coming to you live from deep within an icy, radioactive wasteland, we are the survivors of the social justice zombie apocalypse. The few, the brave, the bitchy, once more waiting to battle against the zombie hordes with Rantzerker 72. Too long, don't read. Sperm is a patriarchal construct. We're not kidding. We are not kidding. And for those of you who say that somehow academic feminism is better than Tumblr feminism, this is the proof that you are wrong. You are absolutely and utterly wrong. Academic feminism is basically Tumblr feminism with jargon inserted. This particular lovely specimen is not unusual for academic feminism. This is median. This is par for the road. This is right down the middle. Typical academic feminist. What do you call it? What's a good word? Adjective? What do you?
Conditioning.
Conditioning. Well, bullshit. This is what passes. Sophistry. This is what passes for academic rigor in gender studies, and it is horrifying. So, with that said, shall I read the abstract?
Bork.
I would say go for it. I mean, this is hilarious. I mean, this I think is. I read the abstract before going into this. I haven't read the paper, but yeah, this is. I would like to just reiterate that this is very standard for academic feminism. This the level of sheer insanity. I mean, I've got another paper which I'm actually finishing up reading from another feminist academic. I might actually live stream it myself as well. It's around black anality. Yes, feminism is researching black women getting fucked in the ass, because why not? Now that I've lowered the tone of the stream, I'm going to stay
with slaves, yo. No, this needs to be explored just a little bit. No. That needs to be unpacked.
It's stay with slaves.
You guys got to get in there and analyze that.
Before we get there, I think we should check that our soldiers are prepared before we go there.
Are you gonna wreck them?
Oh my god! damn near killed them. Yeah. Should we do this women's studies? The golden cage of sperm banking. Before we get into assholes.
Absolutely.
Black holes?
Black holes.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Bunny, I see that you're coughing.
I'm so sorry. I muted as quickly as I could. I have the pneumonia.
No,
I do.
It's okay.
We understand.
The pneumonia.
Let me ask you. Are you close to Toronto by any chance?
Yes.
Are you in Toronto?
That would explain it. Because
I'm not in it. I'm by it. You know.
Okay.
The GTA is massive.
The cloud of pestilence may have expanded then, because everybody who moved to Toronto got sick, except for Karen.
Everybody is sick. Teachers are out. Like, we're all just dropping like flies. So, but yay! Thank you, Sir Fleming. We love your antibiotics.
Yeah, I blame Bin Laden. I think that he did something.
You don't think it's Pepe?
That's just me.
I thought it was green frog flu.
Same difference.
No. Yeah.
It's all right. So what do you want to do the abstract, Allison?
Okay, I'll read it if you want. I also did a bonus abstract with some clarifications to it. If you want me to read that after. Yeah, fix this abstract for you. But do you want me to read the fixed one or the regular one so people can compare? Mm-hmm. I'll do both. All right. The present article aims at exploring whether, if at all, women can achieve any degree of procreative liberty by shopping for sperm donations in commercial sperm banks, which is an understudied area for evaluating maternal agency and freedom of mind. In order to address this topic, a content analysis of 180 donor profiles from 6 American sperm banks was conducted. Data analysis provided vital evidence of symbolic violence and reproduction of male symbolic capital by manipulating these women who dared to challenge the heterosexual sexist social order. Rather than exercising free choice, customers of sperm banks Mostly unmarried women shop for masculinized sperm, and in so doing, they are forced to make a patriarchal bargain. Dun, dun, dun. Masculinized catalogs contribute to the delegitimization of non-traditional gender images and family structures. Recipients of donations are not only victims of symbolic violence, their yet-to-be-born children are the subject to the same manipulation. Since these children strive to read their biological father's characteristics, the donor profile functions as a socializing medium, which enables men to deliver a cultural legacy to the next generation. Okay, so I rewrote this and I clarified the references to victims and victimhood, which is synonymous with women, and replaced men with Satan, or masculinization with Satan. The present article aims at exploring whether, if at all, women, victims, can achieve any degree of non-victimhood by shopping for sperm donations and commercial sperm victimizers, which is an understudied area for evaluating maternal victimhood and victimization of mind. In order to address this topic, a content analysis of 120 or 180 donor profiles from 6 American sperm victimizers was conducted. Data analysis provided vital evidence of symbolic violence and reproduction of Satan's will by manipulating these women, victims, who dared to challenge the satanic social order. Rather than exercising free non-victimhood, customers of sperm donations, mostly unmarried victims, shop for Satanized sperm, and in so doing, they are forced to make a bargain with the devil. Satanized catalogs contribute to the delegitimization of righteous gender images and family structures. Recipients of donations are not only the victims of symbolic satanic violence, their yet-to-be-born children are also subject to the same manipulation. Since these children strive to read their biological father's Satanism, the donor profile functions as a socializing medium which enables Satan to deliver sin to the next generation. Lost nothing in the translation. No. Nothing.
No, I didn't.
You know, when you look at these and they put out their synopsis, it's almost like the I can already tell that the way this is, the order in which this is written is probably also the order in which this was thought through. So it's like, okay, we have our conclusion. We know that the synopsis is the truth. Now we're going to put together all the stuff that supports this idea. So, oh God.
Okay, that's.
Go ahead, buddy.
Oh, I was just going to say that's what happens when you remove null hypothesis. When you remove the need to falsify, you can make it say whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And incidentally...
And that's why I do not consider this science, and I never will.
Incidentally, the null hypothesis is considering, you know, when you say men are guilty of X, you have to also consider that they might not be guilty of X. Mm-hmm. It's a null hypothesis. It's part of the rational process. But we don't do that. We think that an accusation is an automatic conviction. Okay, so there's something that I wanted to point out here. All these individuals did was a content analysis of 180 donor profiles from 6 American sperm banks. How did they determine that that was evidence of symbolic violence and reproduction of male symbolic capital by manipulation? They do realize that sperm donation is almost entirely driven by the women who purchase the sperm. So how are they being manipulated by their own desires to purchase manly sperm?
Because women exhibit a category of mate preference. But we all know that even though women have a very obvious pattern of behavior when it comes to mate preference, this is what is termed with the trigger word hypergamy that gets people very, very upset. The idea that women actually have a series of standards and aim for their partner to have the same standard or greater than their own. But it's very, very easily observable in humans. That is a patriarchal oppressive construct that's not actually what women want, because that's just what society conditions them to want, because society brainwashes women to want toxically masculine men who exhibit all of those evil masculine traits. So that's why what women want is actually harmful to them. It's internalized misogyny again. That's kind of where they're going with this.
Yeah, well, the thing is that
it's the using women's biology against them again sort of bullshit.
Yeah, I actually have that. I found that article as well. In case we just want to, if we want to look at it and prove that to ourselves, prove to the audience that yes, this shit does exist. It does. When I'm looking at this, in order to make women out to be victims of the catalog of sperm, which exists entirely because of their consumer choices. In order to make women out to be victims of it, they have to actually remove women's choice in the matter completely. So that they have to remove women's power over this entire process. And then they turn around and say other people are removing women's agency because apparently women who do not make the choices that feminists expect women to make do not have agency, and they are possessed by the devil. And the thing is that, does nobody else find that incredibly scary, that these people are consolidating power over our governments, over our academia, over our non-governmental organizations and charities and media? They're consolidating power over all of this, and they can explain to a woman how her choices are wrong and should be curtailed because they are basically informed by Satan. You know, they're the devil, the choices of the devil. They're not her own choices, they're the choices of the devil. How long before we start seeing the laws that come out that curtail women's choices away from so-called patriarchal choices, you know, devil choices? And once we start seeing those laws, are they going to be blamed on men because men are the ones enforcing them?
It'll be tried. I'm sure everything is blamed on men somehow. You know, I have a backache and it's somehow a white man's fault. I will say that the ideas presented in this paper are not new. If you go back all the way to the 70s and you go back to, I'm going in the vault, Firestone, Dialectic of Sex, Pregnancy is Barbaric. The issue of women choosing to be mothers has always been a huge bone of contention in the feminist community, because it is the one the one area due to biology where women need men. And that is why you got in the 70s, you got, well, everyone should be lesbians. If you are truly a feminist, you will be a lesbian, because then you don't need men. And then that got translated into, if you are truly a feminist, you will not let your womb become your definition. And you will not let your womb become a commodity and a currency. And if you want to have a child, then that means, by definition, you are selling out your sisters and making yourself nothing more than a baby incubator for the patriarchy. Da, da, da. And so the idea is here.
Lightning.
Sorry? Yeah, exactly. Blücher.
Lightning.
Exactly. So the ideas here, they're just repackaged. This is old shit, man. Like, there is nothing new in what I saw when I skimmed it. It's just being repackaged. And part of what they're attempting to say here by what we're reading is that this industry is actually preying upon women who want children, for example, charging them extra money for extended profiles, because the basic profile is just like race, eye color, hair color, some basic heritable factors. But when you get into the extended profile, you get into what's their family history, how many degrees do they have. There are boutique sperm banks that have Nobel laureate sperm and people with multiple degrees, and you pay extra for that. But it is the women paying extra for that. And I think part of why this particular issue gets such a bee in the bonnet for some is, as Teal was saying, it really highlights some raw and primitive tooth and claw aspects to female mate selection that are very hard to blame on men. It's very hard to blame men for women finding healthy, fit, tall, maybe blonde, maybe dark hair, depending on your fetish, whatever. But it's very hard to blame men for the men that women find attractive, because, if it makes my bunny jump, I probably was not forced to get wet at a certain, you can't, my arousal is not a social construct. I'm sorry. There are some male traits that I will always respond to with arousal, and I can't necessarily control it. I can control my actions.
Oh, did we just lose
conditioner contraction?
Oh, there she is.
Okay, we just lost you for a few seconds.
Oh,
I
sorry.
can control my actions, but I can't control my
arousal. No, I can't.
Oh.
I can't control my actions.
The golden piece of information about what you find arousing in a man.
Oh no!
No one will ever know.
That's okay.
It's gone
I
forever.
someday I'm going to meet up with people and it will all come out over a bottle of bourbon. Hopefully not literally though. But sorry,
Well,
I was listening to Every Sperm is Sacred before this. It's on my brain.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to say, I totally was. What I'm trying to say, and again, I apologize for my voice, but what I'm trying to say is I think that sexual arousal and mate selection, as Teal was trying to say, is something that really irritates this particular branch of patriarchy theory, feminism, because you simply cannot dictate to women what makes them make an O face. And that is the one frontier you cannot control. And women finding muscles and broad shoulders and a small waist and all these signs and signifiers of fitness and health, there is no way to talk women out of that, because you get off or you don't. And that, I think, is where this is partially stemming from. And to get back to close the loop of what I was saying, to get back to feminists like Firestone in the 70s that actually put procreation for women in the category of betrayal of women.
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of the study, let's look at the study.
Yeah.
I think it might be, just in the interest of time, a good idea to skip the introduction, because that's just going to be more of, this is how we know that, I don't know, men are terrible or whatever. And let's look at the methodology. How did they come to these conclusions? Like, what they fucking did. So I'll go through it. I don't know if there's and I don't see anything highlighted, so I'm just going to read it, I guess. So is that okay, Allison, or do you have some other way of doing this?
I'm sorry, right now I am struggling. Google Plus has decided to destroy all of my settings and randomly change them so that the sound goes through my computer, and I have to figure this out. I might have to drop out, so go ahead, Brian.
What the fuck? Okay,
Patriarchy.
well, and I'll just go ahead. All right, methodology. Sperm donor profile. You guys can hear me okay, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Sperm donor profiles are conceptualized in the present essay, not just as marketing tools, but rather as a product in its own right, which is bought by unmarried mothers in order to be presented to the child who may want to know as many details as possible about the biological father. As such, donor profiles deserve further investigation aimed at examining how gender images are performed and reflected in donors' descriptions. All sperm banks feature a browse function to allow the customer to seek profiles that meet race, ethnic, and religious criteria. Prior to the beginning of the study, ethical procured from the Behavioral Research Ethics Board of the university, where the author is a faculty member. The name of the university is to be disclosed after the blind review process. Donors want as many people as possible to view their profiles, as these are their sole tool of self-marketing. Hence, because the profiles are publicly available, I was in compliance with the ethical code of the ASA. Specifically, I follow clause 12.01c, which refers to publicly available records. In order to become well-grounded in the reality of the contents being analyzed, Kimberly Neuendorf, I may have gotten that right, a leading expert in the methodology of content analysis, recommends the researcher to go native, as she puts it. If one wants to content analyze relationship development among soap opera characters, one needs to become, at least temporarily, a soap opera fan. And to analyze nonverbal styles of stand-up comics, one has to nominally become a connoisseur of comedy. Following this rationale, Johnson has succeeded in exposing informal policies of fertility clinics, egg donation agencies, and sperm banks, as well as detecting family boundary construction implicitly carried out in these organizations. This was achieved by browsing extended donor profiles exhibited in sperm bank websites and having a research assistant who identified herself as a potential egg donor in a telephone conversation. Donation agencies. Therefore, with the aim of better understanding and decoding the hidden messages and blah, blah, blah. So the sampling. It was relatively large. Of the 72 sperm banks in the U.S., 22 had more than 40 donors at the beginning of the data collection. One of these banks declared itself a feminist bank. How do you have a feminist sperm bank? What is that?
There is one in the States. I think it's called the Hastings House or something like that. One was specifically opened. There are also LGBTQ blah, 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 specific sperm banks.
everyone?
But
What's
I doubt they'll. Oh, sorry.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Did you just lose?
Yeah, Elsie, we can hear you.
Okay. But I doubt that the LGBT specific ones will be put in the same category, because deliberately seeking out some tenuous link to this community is clearly not a part of patriarchy.
Yeah.
Even though it's the same fucking thing. Anyway. But yeah, there is a specific feminist sperm bank in the States.
Okay. All right. So one of these banks has declared itself a feminist bank. The other appealed to gay clientele, which is what you mentioned. Therefore, these two banks were removed from the sample as having unique goals, which may warrant a separate study.
You mean it might prove you fucking wrong, so you just delete it, right? Welcome to academia.
6 additional banks were removed from the data set because their extended profiles were very scant and too short for the planned content analysis. I picked 6 banks out of the remaining 14 based on their location, with the aim of having a wide geographical representation. Thus, the sperm banks in the final data set were from the following American states: California, New York, Virginia, Washington, Georgia, and Minnesota. All the available profiles were the sampling frame for the second stage, i.e. 533 profiles. In order to be representative, the profiles are to be analyzed, the profiles to be analyzed had to have an equal and random chance of being selected for analysis from the entire pool of each sperm bank studied. I conducted a stratified sampling by randomly selecting 30 profiles from each bank. This was accomplished using a random number generator, since each profile upon its creation is assigned a unique numeric identifier within the site. I added serial numbers to profiles from those banks that identify their donors with pseudonyms. Each profile was marked with a personal ID number, and these numbers were apparently given out in sequence. Once a profile was selected, it was not returned to the sampling frame of that bank. The overall data set includes 180 profiles. This number is composed of 6 data sets, 1 from each bank. Because of the paucity of donors of color and the concern they would not be properly represented if a non-Caucasian donor was sampled, I did not include him in the final data set and randomly selected another donor with the aim of investigating cross-cultural differences in their future. I identified the profiles for which their number was randomly selected and then saved these profiles, each as a separate computer file. Table 1 represents the socio-demographic breakdown of the donors of each bank, whereas Table 2 represents the same characteristics for the sample profile. As can be seen, differences between the population and the sample of each bank are slight, with Bank B donors becoming younger and Bank F donors possessing higher educational attainments after the sampling. I think somebody wanted to jump in and say something, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, this is all just, see, I did a good job, right? This is how I did things. The methodology is just the first line of, so you can't get me on sample size and you can't get me on my research methods.
Yeah,
that's all.
But it is often, when it comes to these kinds of studies and like these feminist statistics and whatnot, the way that the methodology is often where everything breaks down, as we
exactly,
often see,
and that's why
all the time.
Yes, well, look at the exclusion of those 2 sperm banks, because they likely would not produce the desired results, right? You have to read the methodology, or if you don't read the methodology and you find out their sample size is like 10 people, and you're like, oh, get fucked, really? So
they've already cut out half of their information or half of their potential information before they've begun already. I mean, that's a very, very poor place to start from.
Well, the other thing that I'm finding is, wouldn't having to pay for donor information lead to sort of like almost a blind selection process? How does that create a situation where women are more likely to want, or that, oh, I see what you're saying. She's saying that if you gave women a blind selection process, they'd be more likely, or that you gave them all their information, they would avoid the masculinization choices. I assume that what she's doing is she's comparing women's choices when it was a blind choice to women's choices when they had information. And if she finds that when women had more information, they chose not to go with the manly sperm.
We haven't really manly sperm. They have little Viking helmets.
Yes, that's right.
And then they talk about the footy. No, so far as I can tell from reading this, we haven't even gotten really into women's choices yet. We're getting into how she has decided to choose samples to attempt to prove her point. Where she's going with this, I would say, and I'm hesitant to speculate because I we have to read through, but I suspect what she's trying to say is that we are commodifying manly aspects such as power, financial success, race. I bet race is going to be in there, with whites being more valuable, as the patriarchal gender norms of society, and we are brainwashing women into seeking these traits out in their sperm donors. Which, of course, would echo what they would choose in actual real life, which boggles my brain that this is even being done. Because by my thinking, the sperm they're going to choose is going to be their ideal male, and the ideal male is what it is for her. And if her ideal male is somebody with a PhD in mathematics, then that's going to be her ideal male if she was seeking somebody who wasn't just in a cup. So, but I think where they're going with this is going to be to try and prove that white, cis, het, highly educated, wealthy men are the ideal for women, and we have to look at that as a sign of white privilege and patriarchy. I'm rubbing my crystal ball. That's a euphemism.
Can you guys hear me? Oh wait, am I muted?
Yeah.
No, we can hear you.
Okay. No. I was just gonna say, to add on to what Bunny is saying, I'd be really curious about. Well, first of all, we're just with this description of manly sperm. I'd be really curious about how many women would actually select, based on like manly men as opposed to, I don't know, unmanly men, but like to look at what women's preferences tend to be, and if they actually do reflect this ideal that essentially, if you include women in the equation, this is probably simply characteristic of the way men tend to behave, because, as they say, man's like sort of choices, their activity, their masculinity itself moves in the shadow of women's desire. And if this is we're going to reflect that,
I think they're going to be hoist on their own petard with this, though, because I think by the time we get to the final conclusion, it's going to be more a scathing condemnation of the superficiality.
Bunny?
And it's going to be us, but you can't put it in terms of women. Women can be shallow too. It has to be the patriarchy. But let us continue and see if I'm wrong.
Okay, I guess we'll look at the data.
Yes.
The data. Okay, so we have the table here. And it shows you, basically, this is just expanding on the methodology. So the number of profiles. Yep. What are the A through F? So the A is the youngest, and F is, or like A represents younger people, and
those are the banks.
The banks. Oh, yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah. I read a lot of these, so.
All right.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Your dulcet tones, Allison.
Yeah, I know. I'm actually struggling with my equipment at the moment. I apologize to everyone. I think we are all it's new equipment, it's new environment. My computer just decided to randomly change the output for my sound multiple times, and I had to figure out what's going on with that.
Don't go past the table. I don't mean to interrupt you, Allison, but don't go past that table, because this table, the table 3, is like ba-boom. Male, masculine, and feminine traits. Ooh.
Yeah. This is the one we want to look at. All right, masculine, feminine, and neutral traits according to BEM.
BEM. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, BEM. Okay.
Bug-eyed monster.
So masculine traits acts as leader, is aggressive, ambitious, analytical, assertive, athletic, competitive, defends their own beliefs, dominant, forceful, has leadership abilities, independent, individualistic, makes decisions easily, masculine, self-reliant, self-sufficient, strong personality, willing to take a stand, and willing to take risks. Okay.
I mean, all of those things that women find attractive in men are Terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible that men would desire to have all of these traits and been bred to have all of these traits over the past
I'm just,
tens of thousands of years.
of evolution that has got us where we are. Yeah. I'm going through the feminine chart now, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I am not a chick. By these traits, I am not a girl.
I'm not really sure that.
Well, Bunny, if you're not a girl, you should feel bad because you've been Satanized.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You're not the ultimate of feminines. You've obviously been infected by the sulfur spewing rod of Satan.
Fuck, I knew something was wrong when I could write my name in the snow. Oh.
But where's the Zier column? All right. Well, anyway, let me go through
moving on.
Paging
Professor Peterson. Paging Peterson.
Feminine, affectionate, cheerful, childlike, compassionate, does not use harsh language. What?
Fuck off. Yeah.
Eager to soothe hurt feelings. Feminine. So like how feminine is also in the list.
Oh my God.
Under the list of feminine is feminine.
Yeah, it's feminine.
Is masculine. Who'd have thought? Flatterable.
God
gentle.
real because Bible says so, because God wrote Bible. There you go.
Gullible, apparently. Loves children, loyal, sensitive to the needs of others, shy, soft-spoken, sympathetic, tender, understanding, warm, and yielding.
I'm tender if you marinate me long enough. I don't know.
Yeah. Gullible? This is really like, I don't know. I don't know.
But women's are the victims. Women are the victims. This whole study is based on women being gullible and being gulled by the sperm bank industry. Of course, gullible has to be on there. Women are just being brainwashed and led like lambs to the white squishy cup slaughter. I don't know.
Teal Deer wanted to say.
Yeah, this is retarded, and half of these fly in the face of actual evolutionary evidence for how humans work in regards to these things. I mean, they talk about even things like loyalty. No, that's something that you will find actually much more as a masculine trait than a female trait. I mean, even considering
shots fired.
Well, no, even we have evolutionary evidence for that as well.
Oh no, I agree with you. I'm just saying that it's so rare to hear it.
Yeah, but I mean, taking it from the evolutionary standpoint thing, we know that sperm competition exists in men. It's a thing. Half of your sperm is junk sperm that's basically just there to latch on to other men's sperm. Why would that be something that's very, very dominant in human males, unless men who had that were more successful at passing on their genes? Why would that matter? Oh, because historically women were probably fucking more than one guy. Probably behind the back of their current partner or out in the open. We don't really know, but that's not necessarily a trait of absolute loyalty then. So what we have genetic evidence that this is not a thing. Eager to soothe feelings and sensitive to the needs of others. Again, this is partially true because there is evidence that humans are more like a serial monogamy thing than a straight out orgy species. We know this because size of female clitoris compared to body mass, it's nothing like that of, say, a bonobo. But going on to this, it's like, no, in order to sort of take this serial monogamy thing or this cheating competitive breeding stance, you have to have a degree of sociopathy and not caring about your partner as much. And does anyone then wonder why the levels of grey and white matter in females' brains is different to that of males? One of those is very, very closely linked to the ability to lie and deceive. Now, isn't it funny that the females in humans have a higher quantity of that than males? Because they have to, historically, it was advantageous to that. I know I've got all the biological determinist straw men shouting at their screens telling me that I'm stating all women are genetically programmed gold diggers and cheaters. No, it's not at all. It's just we know that these things were successful because they exist now, but you still have the ability to control your actions. But from all of this stuff, no, these are they really are just asserting that these points are there and have been universal throughout human history, when actual just looking at how human beings are built completely contradicts this. It's like feminists don't seem to realize that when you have sexual dimorphism in a species, it is the dimorphic traits that the opposite are attracted to by necessity. Otherwise, that dimorphism would not exist.
Well, I mean, taking it from a different non-strict evo-psych point of view, I'm looking at Defend's own beliefs, and I'm thinking, just observing culture at large, men haven't really stepped up to defend their own point of view much in the face of what feminism is increasingly, the increasingly dominant and aggressive feminism that declares men to be responsible for everything. And it's, I mean, when I'm reading through this, and I think that their categorization of masculine and feminine, that there's a lot of overlap. I would say I'm right with Bunny. I'm very unfeminine, apparently. But the other thing is what they're saying is they want to get rid of masculine traits entirely. Is this the thing they want to do? I thought the idea of sorry, go ahead, Bunny. Oh, well, okay, you're breaking in and out, so I'll just continue. But the idea is that, okay, they want to get rid of masculine traits because they don't want these women to choose masculine men. That's Satanization, or whatever the hell they want to call it. But it seems to me that they're missing two big masculine, what's associated socially with masculine and what's associated socially with feminine. And these two gender roles really trump everything. What's associated with masculinity is agency, and what's associated with femininity is victimhood. And I think that's a very telling omission. Of course, they are choosing to source something from 1974.
Yeah.
Well,
and for the purposes of this, oh, sorry. I was just going to say
no, go ahead.
For the purposes of this, what they're doing is they're correlating words that have been considered masculine, feminine, or neutral against the profiles of the sperm donors. So I think where they're going with this is they're going to try and see, in terms of female selection preference, if more masculine words are used to describe themselves, if more feminine words are used, or if more neutral words are used, because it's specific to the profiles.
I don't understand these neutral ones. Like, can I go through the neutral ones? Adaptable.
Yeah.
Conceited, conscientious, conventional, friendly, happy, helpful, inefficient, jealous, likable, moody, reliable, secretive, sincere, solemn, tactful, theatrical, truthful, unpredictable, unsystematic. This seems so fucking arbitrary because you could put those terms in either masculine or feminine too.
Well, that's why they're called neutral, I think, because they can go either way. But
I'm saying no. Each of those terms.
You can drop them into one or the other.
Yeah, not that they could go either way, but that you could take adaptable and put it in masculine. You could take conceited, put it in feminine. You could take conscientious, put it in feminine. Conventional, feminine. Friendly, feminine. Happy, feminine. Helpful, feminine. Inefficient, they would put in masculine. Jealous, masculine. Likable, feminine. Moody, probably they put it in masculine. Reliable, feminine. Secretive, feminine. Sincere, feminine. Solemn, I don't know, that may be generally neutral. Tactful, feminine. Theatrical, feminine. Truthful. Essentially, this is basically just another feminine.
We know truthful they would stick in feminine as well, even though I've actually seen hilarious research to do with men and women and different behavioral things, and women are significantly more likely to lie and deceive and renege on deals than men. Oh wait, I already covered that earlier because differences in general brain wiring. People really don't like biopsychology. Feminists don't, and I do notice some people on this side of the fence really don't like it as well, even when it's kind of like, oh look, all of this stuff, oh look, it all lines up with exactly what we know about biology.
Well, I mean, I would say I don't dislike it. I just think there's room for discussion. I would point out that women as a whole, and definitely in this particular age, we have a force or a social movement to confine gender roles, to women to victim and men to agent or responsible or villain. And this is something that's new, completely new to our generations. There was never like these mass media campaigns to confine women to the role of victim. So, and when you are a victim, you can justify anything. any kind of abuse of the people who wronged you, because you're a victim. And I think that could be a manifestation of that kind of socialization. But the creepy thing about it is that feminism itself is the most psychotic re-envisioning of gender roles in all of human history. And it's the most restrictive and reductive to the worst aspects of male and
You dropped, Allison. Sorry, I don't know
Yeah,
what's
I'm
going on.
fighting
Oh,
with-
you're back. You're the mute button.
Yeah, the mute button just randomly turns on for me now.
What the fuck?
I'm sort of
Possessed.
what the fucking as well. I think my Google is possessed. But the feminism, it is completely new. Like, we've never had mass media campaigns to enforce a particular form of gender roles before feminism. But now we do. And some of that behavior may be as the result of this mass media brainwashing campaign called feminism. And
Yeah, but they're saying we don't want gender roles, but we're going to make the argument against gender roles by totally reinforcing gender roles. It makes my brain hurt sometimes.
it's even worse than that, Bunny. We are against gender roles because they compete with our supercharged, totally restrictive, and totally reductive form of gender roles that should be applied to everyone everywhere. I mean, people in the past accepted that men and women were sort of part of the same species. Feminist gender roles, we aren't even part of the same categories of existence. Men do things, women are just points on a scale, according to feminism. And you can see this concept even in this thing, because everything is reducing women down to victimhood and points on a scale of masculinization, and removing their choices and replacing them with how much they've been affected. How much Satanism is in society. Do you see what I'm saying? Am I just fucking
I do.
out there?
No, I see
Okay.
what you're saying. I'm just curious to see what the researchers decide is more attractive, or discover is more attractive. The masculine terms, the
interested
feminine
in that
terms, the
too.
neutral.
And
Yeah.
I hope I haven't offended any deer in the
I'm
conversation.
so offended.
Or
I
dog.
am gutted, offended.
By the
Seriously.
way, the neutral term unsystematic, I don't even know how this is on the
How is
what
that?
the
Who
fuck is
uses that to describe themselves?
Yeah,
Why don't you just say I'm a sloppy
I like
I'm a sloppy
long
slob.
walks on the beach, and I like listening to old rock
Yeah.
and roll, and I'm also unsystematic, unapologetically so.
Yeah, and why would you,
Please
if you're
date me.
writing a profile and you use the word moody, shoot yourself. You're doing it wrong.
Yeah. Choose my sperm because it's unsystematic.
And
it doesn't know what
unstable
the fuck it's doing.
and unreliable. There you go. Like really,
Unreliable sperm, the best
yes,
way to
exactly.
advertise yourself with a
Yeah.
sperm bank. My sperm are, hang on, how can we make this sound really good? That my sperm are unreliable, unpredictable, a little bit solemn. They can be moody. They're very unsystematic.
Exactly. Oh my god, so funny.
As opposed to what? How
Good as
else?
masculinity.
My sperm are competitive. They are masculine. They're independent. They're driven. They are
They're
willing
athletic.
to take a stand. They're exceptionally athletic, and they have a slight
They do.
flair of the theatrical.
My sperm
Get
does
the
not use
mind.
harsh language.
Okay, my sperm is affectionate, cheerful, childlike, compassionate. And eager to
Childlike
childlike,
sperm, not
I feel
wrong.
uncomfortable.
True that.
Halfway there.
Okay, no, we need to keep going. Okay, what did they find?
The
Tell
big
me.
loser, the biggest loser sperm is the one that's described as yielding. No, you
Oh.
first.
My
No,
sperm is
no,
yielding.
Oh, sir, I insist. It must be you. No.
I insist.
Oh
And
god,
this is
it's like the
this is
last
how we
piece of
got
pizza
here.
in the box.
So let's look at the findings.
Yes.
Findings.
Okay. Masculinity
Oh,
is
they're talking
conveyed in
about
a
cutesy.
double-layered mode, where classic notions of manhood are masked by seemingly enlightened postmodern images of the new man who is characterized by a globalized and liberal vision. Holy shit, word salad.
Okay.
What can we just take that first sentence apart?
No matter
If
what you
I
do,
wrote-
you're wrong.
Yeah.
Basically.
If I wrote anything in my findings that said seemingly enlightened postmodern images who's characterized by blah, 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 that would be like, I would just be failed. They would burn it in front of me because that's the weasel words and extensions there. Not okay. Not okay. I know I'm in a different field, but those are kind of my standards. So
Yeah, they need
you
to,
don't
they
say
need to
seemingly, you say, I found this.
Yeah, well, that's regular research,
Right.
Bunny. This is
Yeah,
feminist research.
Yeah.
please try and like demonstrate what exactly you mean by this. So what is the double layered mode? How are they masking this classic notion of manhood? So I assume what they're going to do here, or what they should be doing if they want to do this, is to look at how maybe the language has changed, how they're using the neutral words instead of the masculine words on their profile. But then you're making a big assumption that they are inherently being deceitful, which you'd have to demonstrate. And I get the distinct feeling that they're not going to do that because they clearly haven't interviewed the donors. So it would be impossible to demonstrate that deceit was a practice that they were engaging in.
Yeah.
This is just a blind assertion out of fucking
No. They're not saying that any particular man is engaged in deceit. They're just saying that the patriarchy has engaged in deceit. Which
Well,
controls...
that's what I mean. It's masculinity is conveyed in the double-layered thing, where classic notions of manhood are masked by
I see what you're
liberal
saying.
vision. So what they're saying is a guy, instead of saying like, I'm going to beat the shit out of a triceratops and drag it back to the cave, classic masculinity, they're going to globalize it and liberalize it, where it's like, I am a caring, loving provider. That's basically what they're saying. They're claiming that this shift in language shows deceit, but they'd need to demonstrate the act of deceit rather than just a shift of language or a choice of language.
And
They would
baby,
have
have
to
I
demonstrate
mentioned?
the intent, and they can't because they're not interviewing the people who are doing the describing here.
Have I mentioned I'm a vegan too?
Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, so word salad, new man who is characterized as by a globalized and liberal vision. So apparently, the globalists are in our sperm now. Donor profiles provide receivers with detailed information about the donor in 5 major areas: physical traits such as height and skin tone, intelligence such as GPA scores and educational achievements, character and personality such as EQ. This is an emotional
Quotient.
Yep,
Emotional
quotient.
Yeah.
or Kiersey scores, model for life, self-declared traits and future ambitions, lifestyle, hobbies and areas of interest, and moral and cultural values. Of these 5 areas, physical traits are of obvious importance for the future mothers. Most donors report having an athletic build and actively engaging in sport activities. Intelligence and a small number of personality traits have both a heritable and an environmental influence, with scholars waging academic debates over the relative contribution of each of these 2 components. Lifestyle and values are not heritable, therefore are interested to be the focus of the present investigation. Donors' essays about issues such as parenting style, companionship with a partner for life, and are provided in spite of their alleged irreverence for receivers. Okay, well, before we go on, I would argue that I understand that parenting styles and stuff, if they were applied to them, they can be affected in a heretical sense. So, like, if you were raised and you were beat as a child, or you suffered a lot of abuse, it actually can affect your children if they inherit some of the damage. And this is one of the reasons why the cycle is so hard to break. In terms of the cycle of violence. So I think that it does have some effect on that. But shall I continue?
I just want to point and laugh at this nonsense. Lifestyle and values are not heritable. Yes, they are. Dear
Yes.
feminist.
Yeah,
Please actually learn how brain wiring and shit works. You can actually work out what people's political alignments are going to be based on how their brain is formed with a reasonable degree of accuracy. Now, you can't tell what party they're going to vote for because that's the kind of socially informed side as to what there actually is. But you can work out what their values are going to be based on actual brain scans, basically. Liberal brains and Republican brains, for instance, are actually very obviously wired differently. This is why I laugh when liberals come out and they point at the fact that generally people on the right side have a larger sort of basically emotional center of their brain, and they're like, oh, the right-wing people acting on emotion. I tell me I'm surprised, sort of holier than thou bullshit. It's like, yeah, you do realize that what that actually proves is they have a larger capacity for emotion, but they also have a better means of managing it as well, which is why it's the liberals who do the flip out fucking chimp outs when things don't go their fucking way. Why do you think the right-wing stereotype is straight-laced with a stick up their ass kind of attitude? Because that center then gives them a greater ability to hold back emotions as well, to process them. You can tell this from how brains are. This idea that lifestyle and values aren't heritable, it's absurd. Completely and utterly. You're wrong.
I'm interested in what the findings are in relation to the parenting style companionship with a partner for life. I mean, was this obviously, if they're including it, it must have been of interest to some level to the women who are receiving donor sperm, which means that they have interest in, even though she says this is allegedly irrelevant for receivers, why would they pay for this information? And I don't think the donor companies would provide this information unless the recipients wanted it. And it's interesting that they would collect information like parenting style from a sperm donor or a companionship style. Because
again, it's because it's relevant, because it is something that's, again, partially heritable. What I actually find rather interesting on this is when they say intelligence, they only go by GPA score and EQ. I would really hope they provided IQ as well, because that's the best measurement of all the others, frankly. But yeah, things like lifestyle choice and whatnot, like your ability to raise children is again something that's kind of related to IQ again. Generally, smarter people being smarter tend to have more ability to care for their children because they tend to be more successful in life anyway, but then that's a sort of heritable trait. Their success can go on like that. So if you have a higher IQ population in general, you're going to find they will generally treat their children better than lower IQ populations. Why do you think when you go to lower IQ countries, you have people pumping out shitloads of kids to use them as cheap labor?
Yeah. And the other
that also then ties into the fact that their societies are shit because they're frankly a bunch of stupid people. But it all ties together.
Yeah. The other thing that ties together with this is they have found genetic markers that indicate, I believe, sensitivity of vasopressin, which creates paternal behavior in voles. And they've been able to turn it on and off, so they can take a non-paternal vole and turn them into a paternal vole, and then they can take a paternal, a vole that provides paternal care to his pups, essentially. And then they can do the reverse. They can take a paternal vole and then turn it off just by changing their receptivity to vasopressin. And then they've also found a genetic marker for that. So but what's interesting to me is these women, I assume, but this is my hypothesis. I imagine the women are actually interested in the parenting style of these men, and they are actually looking for men who are willing to provide parenting to children, which is, that's just my hypothesis. I don't even know if the evidence in this particular paper bears out, but I think that's an interesting aside. Shall we continue, unless somebody wants to comment on that?
Well, just one last thing, if you don't mind. The case they're attempting to build here with the double-layered mode is that the ideas of manhood and how they're being sold to women, and this is their perspective, not mine, this is how they're framing it, but the classic notions of manhood are now being repackaged with new words to seem more enlightened. And if you read on, this is the case that they're trying to build. They're essentially trying to say that you can put lipstick on a pig and it's still a pig. But they're working from the wrong end of it. That's my perspective, because again, there's this underpinning of these classic notions of masculinity are wrong or bad, and women should not be seeking them out. And that's where I think they're going. But that is definitely the case they're trying to build. This is the same shit, different day. And I think if we go on, we'll see more building on that.
Mm-hmm.
Just before we go anywhere, I'd like to address someone in the chat who was talking about, oh, impoverished people have lots of kids so that one of them gets to adulthood and helps with the money. Yes, that is true. But the point that I'm making is any situation where you've got lower intelligence populations that rely on having lots and lots of kids, what you're having is a lower parental investment because you're spreading it out across multiple children. Higher parental investment in children requires higher IQs, just requires a higher level of intelligence in general. This is why prey animals, which are really, really dumb, have lots and lots of kids and don't invest in them. Whereas predatory animals, which have large brains because they have to be able to strategize in order to do things like hunting, tend to have fewer offspring and much higher parental investment. Again, it's pretty much a universal thing in nature. That's what I'm getting at with this. It's more subtle in humans because the IQ variance isn't quite as big as it is across species regarding things like predator to prey, but there's still that slight variance in population. But
Teal, just for clarity, you're referring to RK selection, I think?
not quite, no.
Okay.
Because our case had a slight overhaul in that regard, but you will notice that again across the IQ thing like that, you will notice there are variants of strategy, but there will be differences within that.
Okay. Thank you.
Boom.
Yeah. I mean, this is a lot of findings, though.
Mhm.
Maybe we can pull something out. Actually, I was looking through this, and I'm thinking we weren't served by skipping the 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 feminist critique of the sperm banking industry.
Done.
Yeah, let's just go back a little bit. And I will read. It's I got it queued up, and if you don't mind me hijacking the show, I can read it.
Fine. Do it.
DI, I guess that's donor insemination, has the potential to break patriarchal bonds and free women to gain control of their own reproductive capacities because it enables women to achieve pregnancy with the minimal male involvement. Holy shit. These people are bigots. Like, that's just really fucking ugly. Free your own reproductive capabilities. So if we said, oh yeah, well, the womb allows men to free themselves from women and create a utopia without them.
That's what I was saying about how this is such a hornet's nest for feminism because it's the one area you can't get away from needing men, and that's why it pisses them off so much. And they're trying to somehow make it so we don't need no man, but you still do. And there's, I think, the cognitive dissonance, even just in terms of biology, makes people crazy.
And the other thing is, I think what the problem is that the real problem in all of this particular article is that women don't make sperm. Men still make sperm.
Exactly.
They want to create a bank of as womanly sperm as possible, not manly sperm. They want womanly sperm, but it's really hard to get that because women don't make sperm.
There's a line in the study that says that men are still controlling sperm banks. Yeah, I don't know about the ratio of who's running it, but I can tell you sperm banks are businesses and they're run on demand. So who is really controlling it? Is it the consumers who are paying? Because if they only offered the sperm of like homeless people, they would go out of business.
Yeah, they offer the sperm that people will pay money for.
Exactly, but apparently men are the ones running the process. Oh,
yeah, well, the thing is, here's where the feminist reductive sex role comes in. This entire paper has to completely, and does completely, excise all acknowledgement or recognition that women have agency in this process in order to maintain the feminist vision of woman as perfect victim. This is what this is doing. And then they turn around and say, oh my God, you're the ones with gender roles. Okay, all right, fair enough, all right. We're the ones with a problem. We're the ones who are creating gender roles when you are creating academic papers that their primary effect is to just remove all possible recognition or visualization or just even seeing how women have any kind of input or control or power in society.
We produce 1,500.
I mean, feminists could go into like a tower with a princess. She's not locked in the tower. It's just her tower. and she has a manservant. And the manservant picks up her furniture and moves it wherever she wants it to be. And the feminist would say, why is that manservant oppressing that princess? Why? Because she can move her own fucking furniture. Well, maybe she doesn't want to. Anyway. Okay, acknowledging that DI poses both an opportunity and a threat for the patriarchal order. Drink. Hansen contends that for most of its history, it was the opportunity of DI rather than the threat that was realized. What? You mean people created a business rather than smashing the patriarchy? Drink. Because of the male professional dominance in the reproductive process. So because men make sperm, well, what can I say, ladies? Because of the bovine dominance in the milk producing process, we have to actually get milk from cows. That this is what they're saying. We have to get men. We got to get sperm from men. Therefore, they dominate the sperm providing process. But okay, all right. So similar criticism. Okay, so they're saying because we have to get sperm from men, they dominate the reproductive process. You realize
and
the science.
the argument.
The science.
Oh, and the argument is that it's child abuse.
What?
Yeah, no, even in the abstract. Oh yeah, look, it's in the abstract. It is forcing the children of these donors to view an ideal masculinization of their donor, which reinforces patriarchal masculinity. It is symbolic abuse, Allison. It is. This study has convinced me. I'm going to burn my bra right now. Like, really? And yeah, because what they're actually getting at is that these women are choosing donors based on profiles. And a lot of them have professed, according to this study, that they intend to use these profiles to tell their child, well, this is who your sperm donor was. He was this tall. He was this accomplished. He had these degrees. He did this. He cured cancer and won the football thing. And that's going to tell those children that that is what they need to look for in a man. But, I'm thinking to myself, if I'm getting a turkey baster, like, let's just say I wanted to do this, right? And I'm going the turkey baster route, which I would never do, but for many reasons, but let's just play pretend. Of course, I'm going to look for certain traits. I'm going to look for someone who's tall. I'm going to look for someone with little to no history of mental illness or congenital disease. Duh. Hello, of course. I am probably going to look for someone within my racial group because I like to pass on the red hair. It's just a thing. It's a ginger thing. But in terms of masculine traits, I would challenge these people to explain to me why they are criticizing others for reinforcing gender roles when they're the ones assuming that women are choosing highly educated men. And being highly educated is a sign of masculinity and not a sign of an equal intelligence. And that is what I would challenge here. Why is looking for traits of success, power, competence, health? Why are they reinforcing that these are reinforcing traditional ideas of masculinity? Why are they not reframing it as a woman, such as a woman like myself? I have a pretty healthy self-esteem, I'm not going to lie. And I want an equal. Even if I'm just turkey basting, I want my child to have equal complementary traits. So why would I go for anything less than how I view my own? Like, why would I go for anything less than how I view myself? And that's why studies like this are such utter and complete toilet paper worthy crap, because they are reinforcing the very things that they are accusing us being the everything is a patriarchy people of reinforcing. How about we do a paper on women who profess to choose these traits because they want an equal, they want somebody whose genes will complement their own because they view themselves as pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah. And
right?
I mean, like, let's not pretend like hypergamy is not a thing. Even if you're just going to turkey base,
okay,
you're gonna want to try and get the most out of it. The most bang for your buck, as it were. But you're not even getting a bang.
Pun intended.
So
I was just going to say pun
not
intended.
even getting a bang out of it. So you may as well get all the other stuff.
Can I point something out? The donor children are going to want to look for something that they can hang their hat on, because they can't hang their hat on their father being a nurturing father, because they don't have that.
Bingo.
And so, their father having done great deeds or doing cool things or being really smart is all they can hang their hat on.
Yeah, I should disclose. I am so against IVF. It makes my skin crawl. I am really against it ethically, but I've tried to put that aside and just analyze what's being presented in the study. But yeah, no, I think it's a terrible idea, and I have so many ethical concerns about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Besides, boning is so much more fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Isn't it? Practice, practice, practice.
Okay, I guess what threw me was because of the male professional dominance in the reproductive process. What the fuck does that even mean? Okay, let's just move on. Similar criticism was raised by Cynthia Daniels, 2006, who claims that sperm banking processes are informed by and reproduce dominant notions of ideal masculinity.
That's what I was saying.
According to her historical analysis, transitions in gender relations, which occurred in the 1970s and 80s, made recognition of male infertility possible and fueled demands by women for new reproductive technologies. But at the same time, these practices also function to reinstate traditional ideals of masculinity. Who do you think has these ideals? Like, they have to completely remove women's agency from the picture and just blame. So men are forcing women to want them to be men.
Women can't make choices, didn't you know?
This is like a fucking nightmare upside. Anyway, traditional ideals of masculinity, further elaborating on the traits that were used by sperm banks to market their donations. Daniels argues that the superior strength, virility, and stature of the male body were highlighted in so doing, perpetuating these qualities as superior masculine characteristics. Okay, let's run through basic economics for feminists once again. If every woman who was seeking out a sperm donor wanted to get an effete 5-foot thespian who likes to play the passive gay male role, they would that sperm from that individual would become the most sought after sperm in the marketplace. And the completely indifferent to any kind of morality sperm donating commercial enterprises would then give them what they wanted. You have to accept this, feminists. Women want masculinity. And they will get what they want.
They know that because they know what gets them off. I honestly think a lot of the rage we see from, not all, of course, hashtag, but I think part of the rage we see from so many feminists is because they hate what they want. They hate what they're attracted to. They hate that they like men. See, I love men. I mean, not in the biblical way all that much, because, but time constraints really more than anything.
What?
But yeah, well, time constraints, school.
Bunny, you have to make good on your statement here. Otherwise, you're a hypocrite and you're lying. You must love all
statement?
men. You must
love all men. Oh my God, the line. Oh, all right, start queuing up. I guess. Jesus Christ, let me get some mouthwash, right? Sorry, try not to suck any dick on the way to the parking lot. 37. That's where my brain is going. I'm sorry. I'm on a lot of pneumonia meds.
Good clerk's reference.
Let's get off the running a train.
Thank you. I know. Oh, I know. Donkey show. What I'm trying to say is that I honestly think a lot of it is cognitive dissonance. And this is back from when I was part of the feminist group, right? And who were frustrated that sex was insufficient for them because they could not accept what they really wanted. And I heard that so much, and it was always a man's fault. And I'm like, well, but if you're not attracted to him, then why are you with him? Oh, well, because, he's a feminist and he says the right things and he does the dishes. And I'm like, well, but you don't want to fuck him, do you? So you need to find a happy medium here, hon. You need to find a way to balance your desires with what your brain is telling you are supposed to like, because this is what we are only supposed to find certain types of men attractive. That is the entire purpose of this study. And what they're doing is they're taking the actual choices of women who are paying to be turkey basted. And they're saying, well, you see, all these women chose these powerful men, and that's just reinforcing patriarchy. It's what they want. And who are you to tell them or any woman that this is not what we want in men? You have no right.
You realize that when feminists stop respecting women's choices, they are going to start taking them away. I'm just putting it out there. They don't respect them.
They want to control. They want to control markets. Like they have. I mean, not just like the markets. Like they want to control what men enjoy, and they want to control what women enjoy. Because if inevitably they have to go after what women enjoy, because they have the equation as it should be, like to them, and now they have to modify all the variables to match the equation they want. And so they have to change it.
Okay, let's.
They're doing the same. I'm just one last thing. I swear to God, they're doing the same thing to men, though. They're telling men what type of women it is okay for them to find attractive. You have to find trans attractive. You just have to, or else you're a transphobe, didn't you know? And you have to find fatties attractive because otherwise you're fat shaming.
And you have to like women of other races at any given time attractive, even though you're not entitled to them, but you have to want them, you know?
Yeah.
You better not fetishize them.
Yeah. You can't. Yeah, exactly. Because that's bad too. So I don't know. It's fucking up everything. I just wanted to say, because I didn't want to come across like it's so hard for women with them telling us what to find attractive, because they're doing the same fucking thing to everybody, aren't they? Right?
They just want to control markets. They hate.
I think they want to control
capitalism in every form, basically.
I think they want to control pleasure.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Because they're unhappy. All right, so Allison, where were we?
We're on page 109.
I just thought of a really easy way of proving their entire thing wrong. It's just find any woman who really wants a kid, take a dozen jars of sperm, put them all in front of her, and say, these are all from 12 different men. I'm gonna baste you with one of them. Any questions?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just see what they ask, because it's like, well, if it doesn't matter, you won't care. But you're going to care. You're going to
be human. Yeah, it'll be human. There you go. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah. Here's a really good example of what I was saying. Down at the bottom of page 109, male fertility professionals as backlash agents. From the economic aspect, the sperm industry is a laissez-faire market in which only a few legislative actions have been taken. Professional organizations such as the American Society for Reproductive Medicine and the American Fertility Society provide guidelines regarding genetic testing and limiting the number of pregnancies achieved using the same sperm. However, these guidelines have no legal or mandatory validity and are treated as mere recommendations. The extant legislation focuses mainly on the issue of donors' anonymity. A meta-analysis of the studies related to donors' attitudes towards this issue reveals that older donors, homosexual donors, and married donors who have children of their own tend to agree to be approached by their future offspring because they are more sympathetic with these children's curiosity regarding the biological father. Mostly younger and single donors and are students and hence motivated by monetary compensation and are less likely to want or seek contact with their offspring. So, but like what it starts with, from an economic aspect, the sperm industry is a laissez-faire market.
How does that support the premise that they are backlash, like they're part of a backlash? How does that? I don't. They've just.
Well, I think homosexual donors and older donors and maybe married donors who have children of their own tend to be less popular with women. They don't usually go with that sperm.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, I think they tend to go with men that have more masculine traits, men that are younger, more fit, more attractive, and maybe I don't know why there would be, but maybe they don't go with the homosexual donors because maybe there's something they're afraid will carry over. I don't know. Maybe they're just less popular. It could just be that.
Yeah, but they said male fertility professionals as backlash agents. Okay, here's the thing. They're essentially saying that this laissez-faire market is patriarchy, and the government has to come in and make it not patriarchy. So is the government not patriarchy then?
The patriarchy has to come in and make it not patriarchy.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, they're saying that the government needs to be in there because laissez-faire doesn't serve women. Well, I thought that it was a patriarchal institution. You're saying that when you bring the institution into the freedom, you get better situation for women. That you're implicitly saying that the government serves women. right here.
Yeah, but you got to be in the feminist headspace, though. In the land of feminism, the only way for any change to be done is through the government. They do everything through the state. That's how they enforce everything. And the only thing that anything they cannot enforce, they just ask for over and over, which is usually the stuff that you can't legalize or you can't legislate yet, like, you know, treating women with respect, whatever that means, and you know, not calling women on the street and stuff. When they complain about that until the government says, okay, I guess we'll pass a law. But I mean, ultimately, they go through the state to get everything that they want done. That's why there's socialism with panties.
Here's where their thesis comes to play. These doctors, okay, considering the near absence of state regulation, it's no wonder that doctors took control of major issues regarding the donor insemination. Okay, what are the major issues? Serving the population? Like, point blank, the only issue that they have to deal with, and they're not dealing with government regulation, is serving the customer. Unless you're saying that they're somehow creating inferior sperm or lying about what kind of the nature of the men who are giving the sperm, the customer is deciding the female customer is deciding based on the men's profile. Unless you're going to say the sperm banks are lying about their profile, the woman's choice is the woman's choice. And that's the only force on this entire system, is what women choose, the sperm that women choose. Sperm banks are directed. Sorry.
But they have so much internalized misogyny, they can't make the right choice.
The one thing I was going to say about regulations, anonymity was brought up, and that can be a huge factor, because when you donate sperm and it's distributed, it tends to be done in batches. So what you end up with is a whole bunch of half siblings born around the same time, who, because of anonymity, may not know that they have half siblings out there. So how much information that can be given is a total point of contest right now, because you're getting people. There was a case in Sydney, I believe, of a donor-created child, and she grew up and she approached the company. She wanted to know, do I have half siblings? And she had something like 16 half brothers and sisters. Have I fucked one of them? Like, because we don't know. And that gets into some of what I view as the ethics of IVF and genetic consanguinity, and how it's just a clusterfuck waiting to happen, in my opinion. But if you don't know,
except that nobody's fucking, so it's more like a cluster squeege.
Oh yeah, the cluster squeege. Oh yeah, but if kid grows up and this person's the same age, so they're in the same grade and they're in the same school and they end up dating, and hey, I was created by a donor, you were? Oh, so was I. And then there's that, wait a minute, wait, are we related? Is this okay? You know? And so there do have to be more inquiries into regulations about that, I think, especially because we're getting more and more donor children who are growing up and they want to know their history, and they want to know where are my half brothers and half sisters, and do these half brothers and sisters want to be contacted? Do they want to be outed as a donor kid? Because some people might feel a bit weird about that. So I think that might be part of the regulations that are being referred to in here, because especially with the consanguinity thing, it's actually becoming kind of an issue now that there's so much IVF happening and donor sperm being involved. Anyway,
Okay, so
we know that this has been an issue historically anyway. This is why effectively patriarchal lineage was such an important thing throughout pretty much every society ever. Even matriarchal ones, knowing who the father of your kids is important. And this is why, and this is again why I find it so bizarre that feminists like to go full Marxist. And it's like, oh, it doesn't matter if you don't know who it is, because everyone's going to be raising everyone's kids anyway. Why does it matter who fathered them? Because potential inbreeding problems with consanguinity in your populations, all of those hereditary genetic problems coming back to bite you in the arse.
Okay.
All that shit.
I'm going to squash the off. Yeah, you guys are off topic, because we're talking about the male fertility professionals as backlash agents, and I was getting to where they support the thesis of this. Sperm banks.
I was just referring to you saying that you weren't sure what kind of regulations they needed.
Okay, sperm banks. Well, no. I was saying that the only real force if it's unregulated, the only force being applied is being applied by the consumer, not the government.
Mm-hmm.
Sperm banks are directed largely by male experts, and it was only after the establishment of a unique feminist sperm bank by women that a few more women reached the position of director in sperm banks. These doctors, who are part of the general population, are no different than any other men in their concerns regarding male domination. Feminist scholars acknowledge the phenomenon of men being threatened by technological advancement in fertility science. Lisa Jean Moore, a leading researcher of the sperm industry, author of Sperm Counts, writes, "The growth of single mothers by choice leads to some men fearing that participation in reproduction is being reduced to the anonymous and disembodied use of their sperm." So not only do feminists claim that men just want to fuck and scarper, they blame men for not wanting to fuck and scarper, or deposit and scarper. An extensive moral panic is not limited to ordinary men and permeates also to those who are highly educated. For example, sociologists Robert Snowden and Jeffrey Mitchell have expressed their concern that DI would become a means of dispensing with marriage and the inconvenience of a husband, resulting in the possible destruction of human freedom and the family. Further elaborates on some of their reactions and contends that although that through the donor catalog, sperm banks can influence and control women's reproductive choices. What? So they're saying that conservatives are saying that donor catalogs can influence and control women's reproductive choices? Or is this a feminist saying, yes. Lesbian customers may suffer even more than those others from stigmatization and maltreatment because of the homophobic attitude of most fertility clinics. You mean they want kids to have a father?
What?
Yeah.
Most feminist critique acknowledges that sperm banks operate as cultural gatekeepers and expropriate women's basic dignity and freedom of mind. What? What
Yeah.
is their problem? Why are people not getting more offended at this shit? I am not going to be your victim, feminists. You're gonna look at a institution that isn't, or a marketplace that is entirely driven by women's choices, point to it and say that women have no power over it because men are the ones fulfilling those choices. Do you understand how fucked in the head that is? Do you guys
They go on to give a somewhat decent example of what they're talking about, although I think it's overblown and framed badly, because they go on the example of some women not being able to choose their donors, but the donors being chosen for them. And I have to admit that would weird me out a little bit too. But I think it's a stretch to say that means that sperm banks are therefore all cultural gatekeepers to expropriate women's basic dignity and freedom of mind. Frankly, if you're going to a sperm bank, are you really worried about dignity? That's just my 2 cents.
It may just
like, wow, you've made a choice, you know.
You may jar the reader to learn that, for example, Scandinavian fertility clinics adopt a doctor-dominated model. A paternalistic attitude is shown towards the patient, reflected by the most basic act where the doctors choose the biological donor to match the social father, thus act as stand-in dads. I assume that only occurs when you're dealing with a heterosexual couple, and so this is only one particular case, and I'm sure that the women can opt out of it if they don't want it.
Like, is this doctors choosing biological donor to max social father? Is this basically just saying we're not going to give a white guy black sperm or vice versa, so that the kid doesn't grow up with like major identity confusion?
I don't. They don't explain what it is.
And that's the only reasonable thing I can think of there. Otherwise, maybe just something. Well, because they mention social father. So I can't help but think that maybe it's just something really obvious like that that is sort of specifically done to basically be like, you know, kids who grow up and they're like a different ethnicity from both of their parents will ask questions at some point, and that can be a bit awkward. So maybe try and avoid it. That's like the only thing I can possibly see. I mean, some people get over that really, really easily and quickly, but for some people it can have a bit of a negative effect. But
all right, let me put it out this way. If they don't want to take part in this particular process, the women do not have to. I assume that they are not forced into it. But here's the next thing, and here's something that should not belong in a scientific paper. Interviews carried out during the field work in the Danish bank has given, I'm not even going to try it, Krokolok, the impression that while customers were, while customers were not only heterosexual couples, but also queer families, both CEOs reiterate a patriarchal and heterosexist view and position themselves as pseudo-family members. Well, then don't take part in their process. Go find another sperm donor outfit that doesn't do that, because you can. Fortunately, semen purchase is not necessarily mediated by fertility experts in the American sperm banks, which target their marketing and selling campaign directly at potential recipients. Therefore, DI bears a considerable potential to free women from male dominance. This is wonderful. So having children is about freeing women from male dominance. Jesus fucking Christ, that's just fucked up.
That's Marxism, because remember, if you have a family, the man has control over the woman and over the children, because that's how it works, right?
Yeah, because
there's no such thing as equal parenting, right?
He seizes them by the means of reproduction.
Okay, but here's some other things that I'm getting out from this. This Scandinavian clinic with this oversight by the men or presumably the male doctors is bad. The American system, where it's controlled by the consumer, is not as bad because it creates more freedom, but they want to get the government in to control women's choices in the free American system because they're not feminist choices. So what I'm guessing they're proposing is some sort of feminist sisterhood that tells women what they can do.
Yes, this is why they're so eager to get all of the women into the government. Because remember, because this is a relevant quote, it's her turn to be president.
Oh, yes.
Therefore, DI bears a considerable potential to free women from male dominance, since it empowers women to reproduce with the minimal involvement of any male. However, this potential has not been fully realized because patriarchal order continues to dominate, since men own and control the semen banks. The dominant position in the fertility clinics is abused as they take the liberty to operate as cultural gatekeepers to preserve heterosexist views, because men hold monopoly over the production and reproductive means of symbolic capital. Which Bordeaux terms male symbolic capital. They aspire to secure the preservation and growth of this capital. In Bordeaux's terminology, fertility strategies are one of a variety of strategies aimed at passing the inherited benefits to the men of the next generations. Fertility strategies are one of a variety of strategies aimed at passing the inherited benefits to the men of the next generation. This is sick. This is some sick rhetoric. They're essentially saying, okay, so how is it that they're saying that the fact that men control the whole process of the commercial half, not the selling half, which women control, not the half that actually exerts any power, but just the servant half. The fact that they control the servant half of the sperm donation production facility, that means that they are able to continue to perpetuate patriarchal norms. Can we just change man and replace it with Jew?
We're getting into some straight up tinfoil hat stuff here with we've made these clinics that women pay us for and we provide services to them, but it's all to create an army of generations of Ubermenschen. Like, seriously, this is what they're saying.
Women are selecting men for the purpose of strengthening the army.
Exactly. I'm twirling my mustache I don't have, but I'm twirling it. I'm twirling it hard. Oh,
this stuff gets published in a scientific. This is peer reviewed. This shit is our academia now. This is acceptable to them. This is these people are clowns. People in academia, clowns. They're clowns now. This is Clownville.
The clown shoes.
In what ways?
Why no one takes social sciences seriously anymore? Because just the amount of assertion and interpretivist nonsense throughout this is staggering.
No shit. And none of this has to be cited. They don't have to cite. They just have to assume symbolic capital. that this thing is existing? Have you proven that symbolic capital exists? No, they just propose it. And all of the various factors, they can just assume. Okay, in what ways can masculine domination be perpetrated in the sperm banking industry? In the following section, I provide the missing link and present the logic for my central argument, namely that the content of the donor profiles is the medium for perpetrating gender relations. Perpetuating gender relations. What? I presuppose that extended profiles are purchased to achieve two goals. Okay, but who's purchasing them? First, and perhaps more explicitly, to know as much as possible about the donor for the selection decision. And second, but no less important, the profile chosen may fulfill the future child's curiosity regarding the biological father. Wait. This is the causal factor that she's identifying. You realize that it's women purchasing the profiles, right? So you're saying that the causal factor in all of this is women's choice. Did you realize what she just did there? Do you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
I presuppose that the extended profiles are purchased to achieve two goals. But how does that tie into...
Well, the funny thing is, how are those goals wrong? It's like, yes, women want to know whose jism they're buying, and maybe the kids will one day want to know whose jism they were conceived from.
That's the missing link, though.
Why is this bad?
Okay, let me read that paragraph again.
Yeah.
In what ways can masculine domination be perpetrated in the sperm banking industry? This is her question. In the following section, I provide the missing link and present the logic for my central argument, namely that the content of the donor profiles is the medium for perpetuating gender relations. So the content of the donor profiles is the smoking gun, she's saying. I presuppose that extended profiles are purchased to achieve two goals, but the only agent is the woman.
Yeah, no, this is literal tinfoil hat territory. But she is tacitly coming to the conclusion that the donor profiles are specifically geared toward women in order to reinforce patriarchal ideal masculinity, because then when the kids ask about it, they've got this amazing, Ward Cleaver-esque thing, and it's a big conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you go into these places and there's like, the designer aisle where all the the really great sperm is, and there's guys there, saying, hey, you want the good stuff? It's over here. And then there's like the bargain bin where all the stuff that nobody wants is.
Oh my God. I'm now imagining someone waiting outside going,
buy two, get one free.
Coat.
Who knows how it'll turn out? Yeah.
I got Chris Cornell in here. Yeah.
But is anyone seeing seems really confused. The content of the extended profiles is the medium for perpetuating gender relations. So if the women didn't purchase the extended profiles, that would be the end of patriarchal domination in the sperm donor industries. But they seem to be compelled to do it. Is she proposing that sperm donation people are hiding? Well,
again, this comes back to women can't make the right choices.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to.
That's what it comes back to. It comes back to if women were blind to this choice, then it would go away, because we can't give them the option because they'll pick wrong.
Yeah, well, here's what she says. I turn to a brief overview of the second motivation and then dedicate most of the discussion section to the first motivation, which I consider more closely related to women's reproductive liberty. So in other words, what she's saying is that women's choice to look at the extended donor profiles to pay for. This isn't just a choice, she's just walking down the street and she just sort of floats into something that's directly in front of her. A woman actually has to lay out money to get an extended profile. And it is this extended profile that is where patriarchy does its work by causing the woman to choose what she wants to choose.
The researcher presents a case in the next part about basically these sperm bank companies shilling for dollars and making the full disclosure really expensive. And so a lot of women who can't afford the really expensive man juice instead opt for the extended profile, which is the happy medium. She's essentially accusing them of shilling sales techniques in the next part.
Have you ever wanted George Clooney's babies? Well, now you can.
Find out if your donor is George Clooney by paying us a low price of $79.99.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Some donor-conceived people feel that receiving information about the donor's identity will help them make sense of their own identity. Oh, but that's wrong, according to feminism. Who your father is irrelevant. When children are told of their origins, okay, you know what? I'm not even going to go there. This is irrelevant. Where's the part where they start talking about how women choosing to have an extended and then choosing based on extended information is patriarchal oppression, Bunny?
It's just in the next little part when they're talking. It's moving. There was a part I was just reading that there's a huge price difference between full open donation and the absolute basic profile information so many women choose. Here we are, US 185 versus US 480.
Do you want to read that part? Do you have it?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah, I've got it right in front of me. However, the price of vials from open donors is sometimes 3 times more expensive than that of anonymous donors. For example, one of the large banks charges US 185 for anonymous vials or US 480 for the same donor's vials if the recipient wants him to be open for her child. Bouquet Cohen. This differential pricing policy leads those recipients who cannot afford the cost of open donors to take the middle ground and purchase extended profiles of anonymous donors. Most sperm banks ask their donors to fill out lengthy questionnaires for these extended profiles. This option is cheaper than the open donor option because most customers do not purchase extended profiles of only one candidate. Rather, they purchase some extended profiles of several donors, and after they choose the right donor, they would then have to purchase as many vials needed until pregnancy is achieved. So what they're essentially saying is that they're setting up a kind of a bait and switchy thing where women feel compelled to buy the extended profiles for the good of the chillins. So,
and why does women having more donor profiles to make a choice about which donor they want? How is it a patriarchal conspiracy to control their choices?
It objectifies.
Well, it isn't. Yeah, and it is reinforcing to women.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It objectifies women?
Yeah, there's what is it, page 116 at the top. The sperm banking industry objectifies the female body as customers become an object that is delivered from men to men, from doctors and directors of the bank to the ultimate subordination of biological pregnancy of the donor. This treatment of women demonstrates Bourdieu's thesis of women as exchangeable objects that are defined by male interests and contribute to the reproduction of men's symbolic capital, i.e. men's monopoly over the production and reproduction means of symbolic capital.
What the fuck?
Yep, women having all of the choices turns them into a commodity. So when a woman buys something off of a man, it's actually the man objectifying a woman. Because of course it is.
So women are literally less powerful than sperm.
Yes.
Even though they want to get pregnant, becoming pregnant by the donor sperm is an act of oppression.
They are a slave.
When men provide women what they want, when men set up an entire institution to give women what they want, that is men oppressing women and objectifying them.
They are servants to the man slime.
Yep. Okay, fine, women. You know what? Just go out and get it all by yourself. Then go out and pump it out the old-fashioned way.
What?
Tap that well.
Oh dear.
You know what?
Oh.
I don't think I can even.
You can't even?
How is this how did we come to this? How did we come to this point?
But this isn't new. This is what I'm saying. This is over and over again. It's been reinforced that anything to do with something positive a man could possibly do for a woman will get flipped into him controlling her by her own desires. And this is the go-to because you can't prove it right. You can't prove it wrong. You just, by you giving me what I want, you're actually making me weaker. Did you know that? Isn't that amazing?
By you giving me what I want, you're actually oppressing me. By okay, so women, I just don't understand her thesis. Like, giving women more information about their potential donors oppresses them and forces them into a patriarchal bargain. Is she saying that that donor or sperm donation clinics are sneaking really masculine sperm in the anonymous sperm pile?
Well, not in the anonymous, but you've nailed her thesis. That's exactly what the researcher is saying, that sperm banks are precedented upon women's predilection to choose extra masculine traits in the profiles, and that is reinforcing the patriarchy. But my answer is, well, what the fuck do you want to do about it? Are you going to create a sperm bank where you have a bunch of agender, the kind of people you'd see at Jordan Peterson's protest, for fuck's sakes, and those people are going to be your donors, really? And I think that's honestly what the researcher, I'm assuming it's a she, perhaps I shouldn't, but I think that's exactly what the researcher is trying to say, that by feeding into women's desire to choose traditionally masculine men to father their children, that those men are used against them. And I'm like, what do you want to, how are you going to fix this though, right?
Well, you're going to fix it by restricting women's choices.
Exactly.
So essentially this entire paper could be replaced with women make the choice to choose masculine sperm, manly sperm, and I don't like it. Because it isn't conformed to my belief system about gender. Because I want to reduce women down to victims in every conceivable circumstance, so I can't acknowledge that it's actually women who are perpetuating this particular gender stereotype in a context where you cannot say that men are forcing anything. Because this is entirely a service relationship. Men are serving women's desires in the sperm bank situation because they are the ultimate customer here.
But is the only sperm that I'm allowed to consume from fucking Caitlyn Jenner now? Like, is that where they're going with this?
Caitlyn Jenner sperm. Okay.
This is what I mean.
No, you have to get sperm from trans men.
Traditionally masculine men, like whatever women normally like, don't go there because that's what the patriarchy wants you to do. Go for these men that you really don't want.
Wrong.
Fuck you, Ryan Reynolds. Fuck you, Hugh Jackman. You're not allowed anymore, man.
Where is this? Okay, so I think what they're proposing is that women's choice is a manifestation of patriarchy. But when does patriarchy teach women these gender roles? Like, is there a daycare where women go to? Like, it's little girls to be taught gender roles? Is there a primary caregiver that's a man who teaches them gender roles? Like, where are women learning these gender roles?
It's just all of society. Just everything about society is teaching women to be, subordinate to men, and that they need to look up to men. This is again why feminism is all about destroying society, because they genuinely think all of society. It goes back to blank slate. They genuinely think that everything about people is socially constructed and there is no biology to it, because that is the only possible way they can justify this sort of stupidity. That's why we're reading an entire paper here that basically says, sorry, women, your vaginas are wrong.
Okay.
By the way, Yarit Bokek-Cohen, who created the study, is a woman.
Okay, there we go. I feel better for having assumed.
Point something out? Habits are we have habits. Like, for the most part, a lot of our actions are dictated by habits, and that we get really powerful habits when we're children. And one of those habits you might consider gender roles, or our approach towards, and it's based on biology as well, and there's some socialization in there. Who is the one that's laying down habits in childhood that we then act out as an adult? Do they really think that all of the actions of adults to create society are the ones that retroactively make the habits instilled in us in childhood? I mean, it's just this entire belief system requires such a level of doublethink and erasure of women's agency. It's just, I don't, what, blah, 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 blah. I
have to establish that. Sorry?
No, I just go ahead.
I think we've pretty much established that as much as we've tried, there's nothing good to be salvaged from these premises. But is there a conclusion? Like, do you want to skip to the conclusion, or is there more findings?
Table 4 is quite interesting, actually. It actually looks at gender motifs and what masculine traits and feminine traits, and both masculine and feminine and neutral traits were added. And what I love is there's a category for a mechanical skill, and it just says non-applicable in feminine, because, Female engineers, they can't even.
Oh, get bent. Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
look, STEM is not feminine in any capacity whatsoever. Your entire career has just been flushed, Bunny. You're not allowed.
Shit,
You must
man.
surrender your title and all
I
of your
used to
work.
weld shit, for fuck's sakes. Like,
No,
man.
you didn't. It was a
No,
patriarchal
I
construct.
didn't. It was a dream. It was a patriarchal dream. Oh my god.
But yeah, look at that. Just unsurprisingly, women were making the choices of wanting the masculine thing. It's like just the gender motifs and analyzing narrative. Sorry, that's people were describing masculine traits. Now I wonder why that would be. Is it because that's what sells? Haven't people worked this out yet? Advertising doesn't dictate customer what they get. Customers dictate the advertising. There's a kind of feedback loop going on here. If you have to advertise things to people in a way that's going to sort of make them want it, but the demand has to be there for the advertising to work. You can't advertise something to someone if they don't want it. I did an entire fucking video on this where Lacey Green was doing the whole, oh, people are just, they do what adverts tell them. It's like, okay, so explain to me why all of the female beer companies that specifically tried to advertise beer at women failed. The demand wasn't there. Derp-de-derp. I guess advertising doesn't tell people what to do.
Yeah, it doesn't have the incredible amount of mind control that people believe that it does. No, you can't, Allison, because you're muted. Yes, you're muted. I can hear you through the wall. Allison's trying to talk, but she's muted.
Hold the mic.
So bad.
There she is.
No. Google did the double layer of muting. Obviously a patriarchal conspiracy.
I was going to say it's a double layered mode.
Yeah, it's a double layered mode. Yeah. Can Google anyway. So the thing I wanted to point out is that this methodology can't prove what she's saying. What she'd have to look at is the choices that women make when they know, and whether or not they choose masculine. And if, you know what, nothing that she does proves her premise. I don't even know fucking how this fucking got through peer review, because nothing here proves what she's saying. She's just analyzing these. Does she actually look at what the women choose? No? Bunny?
Well, even if, well, does she look at it? Well, but she's already framed it in terms of using Byrne's system of gender identity. What's it? So that's appears to be what she's using. She's tweaked it a bit in her favor, like no mechanical skills in feminine. Are you fucking serious right now? But she's going to find, it was exactly as you said when we started. She was going to find what she was looking for, and because she guaranteed that she would. And oh my God, what a shock that the majority of women seeking to be inseminated chose profiles that had mostly masculine traits. Like, oh my God, clearly it's heterosexist and blah, 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 blah.
I need to clarify this. I need to clarify this, though. Just specifically this. So she actually reduced all of the profiles down to masculine, feminine, and neutral. And she found out which ones women were wanting, because I don't see that here. Yep. She did.
It's the in the profiles she put forward. I don't think she's doing she's not explicitly saying these are the ones women chose. She's saying these are the ones that these sperm banks put forward and approved, and they were primarily masculine. This is how she is attempting to back up her thesis, by saying they're cultural gatekeepers. Look at all the profiles that they put out, and most of them use masculine descriptors.
Well, if women didn't care, why wouldn't they just keep with the basic profiles?
Exactly. And but that can go the way of this thesis. You know, women do care. And why do they care? Because the patriarchy has brainwashed them to seek traditional male roles. And this is a giant, I don't even mean the pun here, it just came to mind. This is a giant circle jerk into a small white cup. And it's all, it's so, but it is though. It's a circle jerk. She set it up so she's going to find what she was looking for. It proves absolutely nothing that we didn't already know, given biology. It does not prove some grand conspiracy by these sperm banks. If anything, what it proves is, women like men who are like
Masculine
and
shit.
hairy and stinky and can fix a car and, you know, maybe they paint miniatures and set up war games, because I actually consider that quite a manly hobby. And Warhammer 40K, shit like that. So,
Okay.
yeah. Oh my God, what a shock. Women like men.
Okay,
The
I'm going
end.
to get in here again. So
Okay.
all she found is most of the donor profiles available to women were in the masculine category.
Yep.
She didn't look at, and here's the thing, she's not controlling for every variable. Not surprisingly, she completely ignores women's personal choice in the matter. She just completely ignores it. So this doesn't prove what she's saying, because it's like not even half an experiment. You have to include all the confounds, and women's personal choice is one of them. So this conclusion is total bullshit.
Well,
Unless you're full of
maybe there's more
hatred.
down there.
Unless you're full
maybe
of
there's more
hatred.
down there. We haven't actually gotten to the summary and conclusions yet.
Yeah, let's just go to the conclusion. Do you want to
All
read
right,
it?
I'm going to jump to that bit then.
Yeah.
So this is day before. It's fucking massive. There are people who want a link to this. I don't have a link to this. This is a file.
I had to purchase this.
Yeah, so this was behind a paywall, and we can't really like link it. It's just a PDF file. Unfortunately, all right, so let's see. Jump, study limitations. Conclusion. May I? I haven't read this.
Go ahead.
This is like being in school, you know, when they call on you to read a page. All right. The act of defining sperm and semen is based on who defines it. What? Under what?
What?
The act of defining sperm and semen is based on who defines it. Semen is a social construct, guys.
Under what social circumstances?
It's a social construct. Okay, under what social circumstances and for what purposes? In the context of commercialized sperm vials, these agents are male figures who run the business for motivations of profit. Well, why wouldn't they? Any analysis of sperm donor profiles that disregards this basic reality may miss the opportunity to arrive at a meaningful insights. Sperm banks serve as backlash agents by violating women's basic human right to freely choose the donor out of a wider repertoire of donor descriptions, masculinizing and amplifying traditional patriarchic attitudes in donor profiles is one of the many ways in which a symbolic violence is used against Symbolic violence is used against unmarried women, a way which dehumanizes them and expropriates their self-respect and authentic identity.
Okay, stop. I have been chomping at the bit.
This is tough.
So women control the purchase of the sperm. They control the consumption of the sperm. They control the consumer dollars in this particular marketplace. And the only thing that these men care about is getting those consumer dollars. You realize the only thing they're going to care about then is satisfying their customers. Okay? That making sure that their customers get as much, pay more. They get what they want, so they pay more. And so simultaneously with saying that the only motivation that these guys have is profit, which means that all they're going to do is serve their customer the best of their ability or cheat them somehow. She is also saying that their primary motive is not profit. It is to perpetuate patriarchal conspiracy or patriarchal norms of blah, 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 and subjugate women. So which is it? Is their primary motive profit, or their primary motive some sort of sinister, satanic, symbolic violence against women?
It's both of those things.
Both. Yeah, well, we know that the free market oppresses women.
Yes, the free market oppresses women.
I was saying earlier.
Because men are better at it.
To pay for it, then that's disadvantaging them because they have to pay. Or some sort of shit.
We need to seize the means of reproduction from the bourgeoisie's balls. From the balls of the bourgeoisie.
Oh my God, the ballswoodgy.
Okay, next paragraph.
Okay. Good Lord, this is some hard shit to read through. Okay. A comprehensive evaluation of women's procreative liberty should encompass the earliest phases of motherhood, starting from the choice of the genetic material. So his body, her choice. Hence, the insights gained by the persistent study contribute to the extant feminist scholarship on motherhood in exploring the limited freedom of choice women have when undergoing donor insemination and the expropriation of women's agency in sperm banks. God, this okay. The sperm banking industry offers an attractively baited trap, and customers purchase semen and regain prisoners in the golden cage of attractive donor catalogs. The banks display detailed descriptions of successful and handsome men, and the customer feels she can fulfill her fantasy and give birth to a cute, pretty, and intelligent baby. However, this is a mixed blessing. The purchase is attended by thought control mechanisms.
I told you, it's Alex Jones shit. Frog's gay.
Hypnovag.
Yeah.
Okay, and the deviant customer may go through intensive brainwashing. What?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Let's go back. I'll say this again.
Okay, what we gotta do, we gotta make sure that those sperm senders, we gotta sell them some water filters. So when those women are sitting, in those, maybe we can put the sperm through the water filters.
Exactly. Oh my god, so good.
However, I'll read this again. This is a mixed blessing. The purchase
Tell me more
is
about the
attended.
systemic violence.
I will tell
Okay,
you.
and for everybody who's like an Adam Jones fan, I just want to say,
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones, sorry. Well, everybody knows I can't pronounce a damn name or know a damn name. We're mocking. I mean, I'm sure that Teal Deer and Bunny are perhaps more pointed in their mocking, but I just
No, sometimes he says good stuff, and sometimes he
Nobody.
says stuff
I don't even
that
think people
I'm
who
just
really
scratching my
like.
head.
Yeah, if you like Alex Jones so much that you can't take the joke.
Yeah, everybody is
I don't know what to
mockable.
tell you.
come on.
Nobody is above it. Okay, so
Burn
anyway,
through water filters. That was
where was
fucking funny.
I? Yeah, no water. Okay, however, this is a mixed blessing. The purchase is attended by thought control mechanisms, and the deviant customer, so people who resist the thought control, may go through intensive brainwashing. The recipients of sperm donations are not the only victims of this symbolic violence. Here we are again.
Yep.
Their children are also subject to the very same manipulation as a result of their eager search for descriptions of their biological fathers. I imagine symbolic violence. I just see like a hieroglyphic with a hammer, like hitting somebody. Okay. One should bear in mind that besides the monetary compensation, many donors are motivated by a desire to spread their genes and also by the possibility to have children in their lives. Therefore, sperm banking industry is a major broker engaged in women trafficking as the woman's body becomes an object that is delivered from men to other men, from semen bank doctors and directors to the ultimate subordination of biological pregnancy by the donor, allowing him to enjoy the dubious pleasure of spreading his genes without any parental investment except for his dedicatedly written profile.
Dun, dun, dun.
I know. And here we see again. I got the whiff at the beginning, and this just confirms the pong. Biological pregnancy is something inflicted on women. This is the same shit from the 70s, that pregnancy is a mechanism to keep women down. It's a disease, it's a parasite, it's blah, blah, blah. Women have more roles than just having babies. Having babies means you're just a tool for the patriarchy to make more boys. It's all this bullshit. I'm serious. People
No,
like,
I agree with you. I'm going through my head right now is how removed do men have to be from any transaction that women make until feminists acknowledge that women have it. I mean, they're not going to. Men are involved in some level. Anywhere, it doesn't matter.
When we have women-only labs and women-only banks, and we can clone and make variations on sperm, and we no longer need them at all.
And when women can make sperm.
Yes, essentially when women
Exactly.
can make sperm. And even then, Brian, this isn't going to stop, because even if feminists manage to get rid of all men and the influence of all men, because you can see in this is a man donates sperm just because he thinks, I don't want to personally have kids, but maybe my genetics are worthy and maybe I can help out an infertile couple. That is a patriarchal conspiracy. There is nothing men can do or say that would stop them being blamed for patriarchy, ever. And in fact, if the feminists ever got to a state where they could get rid of male influence entirely, because that's what this is, they can't stand. I mean, look at this. Women are woman trafficked because they received the fucking sperm that they bought and paid for and got pregnant. I mean, at this point in time, there is nothing except not existing that men could ever do to comply with feminist aims. Just don't stop existing. Just spontaneously combust in a puff of male privilege, men. Just do that. Just stop existing, because no matter what, if you exist and do anything to benefit yourself or think that you do anything for any reason that could possibly construed as a benefit, you will be blamed for trafficking women to the end of getting that benefit. But if that happened and men spontaneously combusted in a puff of male privilege, you know what would happen? Feminists would not stop. They would simply start routing out all of the internalized misandry or misogyny in the women that remained. And they would create an increasingly smaller and smaller clique of acceptable behavior, leaving behind circular rings of dead female bodies as that circle contracted and contracted and contracted more until there were two women left, both of whom accused each other of internalized misogyny.
This is how you know feminist academia in general, is dying, if it's not dead.
Yes, I'm done. Go ahead, Bunny. I'm sorry, I railroaded over you.
Oh no, that's all right. It is the nature of the show, and sometimes I railroad over other people. But
she's into it.
They're epic. Every time you rant like that, I hear the Star Trek fight theme in my head. Da 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 da. Da, 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 da. And I imagine you like ripping your shirt. Exactly. Ripping your shirt and fighting this alien feminist chick. I see pictures in my head. What could I say? It's
those reptile things. Yeah.
No,
okay,
I was just
so
gonna
Bunny,
say,
yeah, if you want to say something.
Just that I think Allison is exactly correct. Everything can be put in terms of how men. And again, the ultimate subordination of biological pregnancy, as like that's the ultimate betrayal, was the pregnancy the woman actually, because pregnancy is a betrayal of the feminist sisterhood. And I think, and this is the last little bit I'm going to wax on this, because we probably should wrap up soonish. My nose is telling me, but pregnancy represents men and women coming together in biological harmony. It is half and half. And it is this area, it's this thorn under the saddle. You will never get away from a child representing equal parts man and woman, male and female. The conception of children is that one last standing pillar against all this bullshit of everything being a social construct, because we cannot deny how Babby is formed. And we cannot deny it takes men and women. And that is why I think this is one of the final frontiers that's going to be attacked the hardest. That's all.
Tilder, do you have any final words?
Yes, this is why feminists want to destroy everything. Because we know that for now they are blaming men on this. But the thing is, if they were able to remove men from the process of reproduction and create babies out of 2 eggs, then we all know the goalpost will shift, and it will just be, well, it's still a patriarchal construct because women are feeling like they must reproduce. So that's how they constantly phrase this. It's this idea that, oh, if a woman wants to get pregnant, it's because patriarchy brainwashed her. So if a woman would want to have a baby with another woman using 2 eggs, that's still a patriarchal construct because something is forcing her to feel like she must reproduce. And what I find even funnier about all of this, and tie this all into these recent totally anti-science things that we've seen, like that crazy woman from South Africa. Oh, can you not prove that lightning, I can summon lightning to strike people? Oh, you see, that's why we need to destroy science, because you don't acknowledge my complete bullshit and call it science. feminists would love to drag us back into the Stone Age so that all technology and knowledge again can all be discovered by women, because the universal truths of how things like the universe works, basic things like gravity, if they were discovered by women, the women would say that it works exactly the same way as the men did centuries ago, because that's how it works. They might change the symbols that they use to represent it, but it works in exactly the same way. And this is why they want to just destroy everything, because women have to build everything, because that's the only way it will cease being a patriarchy. Because even if all men disappeared, they would be living in the legacy of patriarchy, according to them, so they would still have to destroy everything. From them.
They're the ultimate nihilists.
Yeah, it's the only logical conclusion to their actions, and it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I this is coming out of. I'm just curious, after watching us go through this paper, this academic feminist paper, how can you say that that the crazies on Tumblr are not feminists, or the third wave lunatics on the internet are not feminists? Like this is them. Do you think they get this shit from nowhere? They get it from this. This is academic feminism, friends. This is not the fuzzy friendly feminism. This is some psychotic shit. And it's in their fucking papers. This is what they look like from the inside. And
yeah, there you go. Christy Winter has asked us to to try to take on more sort of like tougher
robust,
feminist work,
yes.
more robust feminist work. We just went through this thing. Are you going to go through this, Winters? Are you going to see what we're talking about? No, there's no time for that. This is still a straw man. This is a very not well, but lengthily written, heavily researched. Look at all these fucking references. But it's still a straw man, though, right?
It's on fucking Elsevier, which is, I mean, if you go up to it's published by Elsevier, it looked like at the top anyway, which is a hugely well-used resource in Canadian universities. Elsevier is a company that mostly does STEM shit. And this is what I'm trying to tell people, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, there's no feminist stuff in STEM. I'm like, bullshit. There isn't. It's creeping. It's creeping.
It's already there.
It's creeping into forensics. There are words we're no longer allowed to use. Even though we talk about the same thing.
Let me just leave this with the one thing from the end. This is from their conclusion. Therefore, sperm banking industry is a major broker engaged to women traffic, as the woman's body becomes an object that is delivered from men to other men, from semen bank doctors and directors to the ultimate subordination of biological pregnancy by the donor, allowing him to enjoy the dubious pleasure of spreading his genes without any parental investment except for his dedicatedly written profile. And incidentally, I'll notice with this last paragraph, she's giving a bit of a jibe to this idea that they're coming and scarpering. Yet earlier, I believe I covered something that indicated that she was also prejudiced against men wanting to be part of their children's lives as well.
Oh yeah, she goes both ways in this article.
So
and,
men can never win. You can only disappear, according to this feminist rhetoric, because even if there was two eggs fusing, probably it would still be men doing the process. And then they would say it's a male-dominated process. Oh,
of course.
You can't win, men. Just disappear. You can't be made not problematic if you're a man, because your very existence is problematic. And if you don't read this and realize that, I think you're failing to understand what she's saying here. What she says, that a man donating sperm is woman trafficking. The woman who gets pregnant, who purchases it and inseminates herself with it.
Oh, but this is the same thing that happens with sex workers, right? The feminist take on sex work a lot of the time is female sex workers are preyed upon by their male customers, and male sex workers who accommodate female clients are taking advantage of those women's weakness. You're right. You literally cannot win, because everything will be reframed toward the woman as a victim and the man as a predator. It's just basic.
This is
Basic bitch.
This piece is demonstration of a profound rot in our academic institutions and our society. The fact that this could have a stamp on it, somebody's stamp of approval on it, is part of a professional organization. This kind of absolute, unequivocal hate speech that essentially concludes that, or sorry, you don't like hate speech? Okay, war propaganda that essentially concludes a group of people is problematic just by existing. I'm out.
All right.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go have a shot to toast the death of reason in Western culture. I mean, it probably happened a long time ago, but this kind of puts the cherry on the shit cake.
Well, thank God for the internet, so that we can all read this, acknowledge it exists, point, laugh at it, cry a little bit, hug each other.
Yeah.
And watch.
But the thing is, at least we see,
watch the world burn from our computer screens. Yeah.
And there are students who sit through courses where they have these things put up and they do go, no, this is bullshit. Now, the problem is it's much easier to just quit the class than it is to make us think about it, because you really don't want to be that person. But sometimes you have to. I've objected to things in class before. I've said, no, this is a feminist ideology. I do not agree with it. And there have been times I've actually said, I'm not just making a stink. I will debate you. Fight me.
Fight me, bro.
Fight me.
RRL.
Fight me, bro.
Dun, dun, dun,
I will
dun,
debate
dun.
it. Exactly. But I've never been taken up on it. I'm like, I will debate the fucking professor on this. Come on, hit me up. I don't care. Let's do it. But it never happens. Because they don't want fucking debate, do they?
No, they're trying to make it into hate speech.
Yeah, the universities are turning into churches.
Yeah.
It's not a place where you can, come up and stand up and create dissent, because they have a sermon to deliver and you have to listen.
Amen. All men.
Amen.
Amen.
I think
Get it?
I'm gonna
Get
make
it?
a weird hashtag with that.
Amen.
All men.
I still like bourgeoisie. I think bourgeoisie is my bon mot of this stream. So
Seize the means of reproduction
it's because
from the bourgeoisie.
exactly. Free yourself from your vast deference.
On behalf
James.
of the Foon Materiat or whatever.
There's so much we could do with this. It'd be amazing. Okay, look at us now. And I really do want that.
Is it time to go?
Lie.
Yeah. I think we're sufficiently wedged into the silly place. So.
Oh God, the wedge. All right, let's get out of here then. Thanks for joining us on the Rantzerker. Thank you, Teal Deer, Dan Bunny, and Allison, and thank you,
Thank
chat,
you very much. Yeah.
For making things
thank you
fun.
Very much for having me. I got to get this in because sometimes you end it and I don't get a chance to thank you and I feel like a shit. So thank you very much for having me, and thank you, chat. And now you can do your proper thing. I just wanted to be sure I get my thanks in. It's super important to me.
We don't have a proper thing. I just hit the button.